Hello and welcome to Antinatalism this week. There was a talk at the UHero Oxford Institute, which is part of Oxford University, about the badness of death. Student Reese Southern presented a view that harmfulness of death is comparative in the sense that it is a harm only relative to the goods that we would be deprived of. So that means that the state of non existence after death is not a real advantage to the state of non existence before death. Therefore, the harm of death on its own cannot be the reason against bringing someone into existence. We know the famous quote by Benatar: life is bad, but so is death. However, both life and death are in crucial respects awful. Together, they constitute an existential vice, the wretched grip that enforces our predicament. But if the harms of death only emerge from life's goods and are not intrinsically bad, then this proverbial vice does not work. Therefore, Benatar must either accept that life is good overall, which makes death bad overall, or he must accept that death is good overall because life is bad overall. This talk happened on 5th of December and we don't have a recording yet, but UHero Institute has a YouTube channel where they post videos after a few weeks, so it would be interesting to see what was actually said. On sapiens.org was a light article on the situation of antinatalism in Japan. We already know of Antinatalism Japan, which organizes regular street outreaches in and around Tokyo. Japan is one of those few countries sitting at the overlap between low fertility rate societies and those that still follow traditional structures. So even though current generation of Japanese don't want to have children or want to have fewer children, the expectation of their parents to become grandparents is still strong in the Japanese society. One such transgender woman from younger Japanese generation, Yukina, struggles to keep her antinatalism while also being sympathetic to her parents' wishes to give them grandchildren and continue their life project in a notional sense. With such cases around, the author Jack Ziang, who is an anthropology student in New York and who studies antinatalist movements in Japan and India, finds himself torn between environmental challenges and his father's expectation. He says, with a planet on fire, I consider parts of myself that might linger after my death. Will my legacy be another human being or just a decomposing body that enriches the soil? My dad sees an afterlife in his grandchildren, but maybe there are other ways to live on. Speaking of transgender people and their perspectives on having children, Philosophy Tube, which is a big channel with 1.6 million subscribers, made two videos on this topic. The first one was on a general topic of declining birth rates, how pronatalist demographers think or wrongly think of an aging population as being an unproductive burden on the society, and why we should take the population collapse fear mongering with a grain of salt. The second video was closer to the subject of antinatalism, even though not close enough. Abigail Thorne, who is the creator of this channel, is a trans woman and has already done a video on philosophical aspects of antinatalism back in 2017. So, this one was more about practical aspects of having children and more specifically whether or not transgender people should have children in today's world. That's why the metaphor of pregnant mermaid. The video refers to a United Nations survey conducted in 14 countries about people's reasons for and for not having children. We have covered this report in the past. These are mostly practical reasons rather than philosophical arguments. The pregnant mermaid in this video tends to agree more on the side of reasons for not having children and refutes the reasons for having them. Abigail, in the real life, prefers to have children but decides not to have them mainly because of the way trans people are treated in today's world. Both parts are entertaining and informative, so I suggest you watch them even though they are fairly long. Philosophy Minutes is a channel with shorts on philosophical topics. They did a short this time on David Benatar explaining his quality of life argument, optimism bias, Pollyanna principle, etc. Jay Zygmunt, who was also one of the speakers at the Antinatalist conference last week and who is the founder of Child Free Wealth, did a TED talk about choice of being child free and its connection to economy and sociology. He accepts that growing number of child-free people will cause economic problems for the society, but encouraging people to have more children is not the solution to that. Eco Vegan Greek, that's the name of the channel, and she did an interview of Lawrence Anton on the topic of antinatalism. They discussed a broad range of topics in this hour long interview, from how Lawrence became vegan and then antinatalist, and Benatar's asymmetry, the risk argument, whether or not vegans should have children, and so on. Two Hindi videos worth mentioning. Candid Exchange did a 5-person podcast inviting both Siddharth from Your Saintly Devil and Aditya Mishra to discuss antinatalism. Both of them have been on this channel too. Another one in Hindi, and even more interesting because it was by Sham Manav. Sham Manav is one of the biggest atheist activists in India. He has dedicated his life to eradicate superstitions and get medical quacks who deceive people for money banned. His work is extremely important in places which are still addicted to mythologies and religious malpractices. Sham Manav gives lectures on scientific mindset and rational thinking, in a loose sense of the word rationality. He also has a YouTube channel with over 500,000 subscribers and where he frequently talks against superstitions. On it, he was recently asked about his views on antinatalism. I have attended lectures in person of Sham Manav and I have utmost respect for Sham Manav, but his reply to this question was disappointing. Without going into philosophical aspects of antinatalism, he directly jumped to sociological consequences of antinatalism. He said, as long as antinatalists are a minority, they remain irrelevant. But if they start growing in numbers, that could cause problems for a functioning society. However, that won't happen because women innately have desires for having children. This claim about women's innate desires not only sounded like mansplaining, but also ignored the distinction between maternal instinct after birthing a child and a desire to have a child before having it. So, yeah, disappointing. Steve Godfrey, who has a channel dedicated to be against aphilism, did a live stream answering questions he got on comments and on live stream chat. It's a 1 hour 50-minute long video, but only first 40 minutes are about arguments where he goes through 13 flaws in aphilism and presents a logical fallacy in constructing what he thinks aphilism is. The rest is personal attacks on individuals like Amanda, Inmendam, Lawrence, and even David Benatar. At one point, he accuses Benatar of being tone deaf. He also confesses that he probably is not an antinatalist anymore. He was drawn to antinatalism through consent argument, but now he has doubts about it. Those were some of the notable videos, and now on to some pronatalism this week. A new academic paper by Elena Berdnikova explains why Russian government sees antinatalism as a threat and what laws they have now created to fight it. The original paper is in Russian, but I got it translated into English. Russia's population is shrinking. Despite financial incentives, birth rates remain low. The author claims this is partly because of antinatalist ideas, child-free culture, online communities, and philosophical arguments are influencing young Russians and devaluing family, motherhood, and fatherhood. Elena defines antinatalism broadly with references to Benatar's philosophy, child-free lifestyle, digital antinatalism, aphilism, fear-triggered youth subcultures, and Western individualism. In her view, all of these contribute to declining birth rates. But interestingly, she admits that the real drivers of low birth rates are economic instability, career pressure, anxiety about the future, social isolation, changing values, and not ideology or philosophy. In 2024, Russia passed a federal law banning content that encourages refusing to have children. The law prohibits child-free or antinatalist messages in media, in advertisements, films, and on websites. If there exists some material on websites, they must delete it, and violators face heavy fines or shutdowns. Regions within Russia are also passing laws restricting abortion propaganda. This is world's first formal ban on antinatalism. But even the author admits that refusal of childbearing isn't properly defined. Young Russians reject these bans. Too much censorship may backfire. Economic issues matter far more than the ideological and philosophical arguments. So the law may not fix the demographic decline. From Russia to China, there's a news that effective from January, China will levy 13% value-added tax on certain contraceptive drugs and devices including condoms. Again, not surprising, but disappointing for sure.